Hi, it's me, Egbert, Eggburt, the owner of this radio station. I invite everyone to listen, no matter if you're young, old, black, white, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, heck, I even want real estate agents listening to my station. Yes, even Rick and Tracy. You're all welcome. Now, it's back to my Goodwill ambassadors, Brad and John.
John, are you back? Did you drop off there?
I'm here.
Okay. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden you were gone. Okay, this is a BJ show. And by the way, I don't do disclaimer enough. For those of you listening on the podcast or on the YouTube channel, we do the show live. It is actually a for real radio show. Runs between 7 and 8 o'clock Monday through Friday on Egbert 104.5. You can listen to it on the air. You can listen to it live. All you have to do is just go to bjshow.co, click on the little icon where you have Egbert, who is our owner, click on his nose, and you will go to the live stream. Okay. I'm trying to think. Let me look what else I had. Okay, can I tell you something? I've got people sending me these. I won't say who sent them. Have you ever watched any of the Bachelor things on ABC? You know, the Bachelor series, and the one that got a lot of bounce was the Golden Bachelor. Now they have the Golden Bachelorette, and we talked about this on the air, that the Golden Bachelor, he finds his, he's a widower, he's 71 or 72, and he finds this wonderful woman, and they get married on the show, and then 2 months later they're divorced because he lives in Indiana and she lives in Maine or something like that, and they're not going to move. It's like, okay, don't you think that would have been, before you marry somebody who doesn't live in your area, don't you think you'd sit down and say, well, when we get married, where are we going to live? Don't you think that would be part of the conversation?
Yeah, I would suggest that it's a television show and not that serious. But yeah, you would think if it was real life, that's something that people would really work out. Okay.
The new series is the Golden Bachelorette, and it features one of the bachelorettes who was in the Golden Bachelor, if that makes any sense, okay? So in other words, she was one of the contestants, and now she's the focus of it. And what's interesting about it is someone sent me, this is a woman who sent me this, and it's sort of funny, that says it's ageist because of the fact that the Golden Bachelor was 72, I believe he is, and the Golden Bachelorette is 61. So in other words, they're saying that get where I'm going with this, that like, why couldn't the Golden Bachelorette be in her 70s just like the Golden Bachelor? Because of the fact, and I think you can probably fill in the things here, because of the fact that, there's this ageism between men and women, that once again, you see, I mean, like, for example, if you watch any kind of, like for example, there's this crazy YouTube channel I watch all the time, and it's called News Be Funny. And the guy puts this out every month. And all it is clips of all these local newscasts all over the country, blooper reel. It's like blooper after blooper after blooper. Camera falls over, a bird flies onto the 5 o'clock news set and stuff like that. And almost every time you see the dude who is the news anchor, he's like in his 50s or 60s, or maybe even 70s, and his co-anchor is like 26. And the point being is, well, why don't you have older women on as anchors? Well, it's sort of like watching Fox News, okay? You watch Fox News and you see this bevy of incredibly beautiful women, and most of them have their law degrees, on Fox News, and they have the establishing shot where they're sitting around, if like what is it, outnumbered or something like that, and the women are always sitting, and they have these incredible legs, and they're wearing 6-inch stilettos, and they look like they're 30, and the dudes are sitting there, and it's like Tyrus, who's like weighs 4,000 pounds, and and looks like he's what's the Jabba the Hutt from one of the Star Wars movies, and people are going like, okay, why is it the women all have to be young and beautiful, and the men can be these ugly blobs? Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much a basic fact of life, right? Like, you're going to get better ratings if you have good-looking women. And maybe it's self-perpetuating, Brad. Maybe if you're a good-looking, young, conservative woman, you aspire to be the next Megyn Kelly. So you have a bevy of those women actually applying for the jobs. And if you're a giant chunk, or you're crabby, or you can't smile, you're not going to apply to be on Fox News.
Well, do you think it's right?
It doesn't matter if it's right. It's a fact. It would be like pretending that I should leave the house and answer the door more often because I might run into somebody that my kids could use in 40 years.
This by far is the most terrifying.
Okay, hold on a minute. I want to play something. Did you just hear that come over your? Did you hear?
I did, yeah.
Okay, this is totally changing subjects. Do you know who Mark Rober is? I guess it's Rober or Robber. You know who he is?
Yeah, I know. I've heard the name. Yeah, who is he?
Okay, he's an interesting guy because he actually is a rocket scientist. He literally worked for NASA, and he's got.
Oh, and hold on, let me interrupt. He does the glitter bombs, right?
Yes, this is the guy.
Okay.
And so I find him fascinating because I know this sounds crazy, but I saw a video of him last night, which was intriguing because more and more you see what's going on in Ukraine with Russia with all these drone attacks. And one of the interesting things that's happening now, and I'm not saying this to put an idea in everybody's head, but one of the things that's come out repeatedly, and not necessarily too much in mainstream media, but if you watch some of the weird stuff that I watch, they're talking about how incredibly tough it is to protect people vis-a-vis the former president of the United States. He's already been shot once. He could have been shot again this past weekend. And they're talking about how the ability to attack people and businesses, and we saw what happened in Lebanon with the exploding pagers and the exploding walkie-talkies. Mark Rober had this fascinating thing on the guy who originally created the Oculus 3D glasses. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, now his new thing is he's developing these anti-drone systems and he won't talk about where they're at, but they're already deployed essentially he says they're at certain sporting events and things like that, so they're designed to essentially be anti-drone attacks. Okay, this is Mark Rober. This is the kind of stuff he normally does, but he does goofy stuff, okay? This is a short. I'm going to play this short. and do you ever go swimming?
I do, yeah.
Do you go swimming like in a pool?
Yeah.
Okay, wait till you hear this. Okay, let me go. See if I can start it back over again. Hold on a minute. This is only 60 seconds, and hopefully you'll like this. But I saw this last night. I thought to myself, this is interesting. Okay, here we go.
This by far is the most terrifying experiment I've ever done. What? I once tested to see if it's true that the chlorine scent you smell from pools is really just from pee and sweat. So I got 2 identical buckets and filled them both with pure water. Then I added 4 times the recommended concentration of chlorine for that volume of water to both buckets. And finally, as the only point of difference, I added just a little bit of pee to bucket B. Then I let them sit for a day. And after 24 hours, it was time for the smell test. First bucket A, that was just chlorine and water.
So that doesn't smell like anything. That smells just like water, even though this has 4 times the recommended concentration of chlorine for this volume, which makes me nervous to smell this one.
And then bucket P, or B.
What? That is crazy. This smells like a pool, even though the only difference between these two is this has a little bit of pee in it. This is a nostalgic smell. This smells like summers and vacationing at hotels with pools and water parks. Turns out it was just pee.
This by far is the most terrifying.
You get the point of that? The point of that is that according to his scientific determination there, that what you're smelling is the interaction between the chlorine and pee. You're not smelling the chlorine. So in other words, if you go to a swimming pool, and I guess the theory is if you had a swimming pool, let's say they drained the swimming pool and they put the chlorine in it, and you went to that pool and nobody had been into the pool yet, it wouldn't smell like anything. But once people get in there and start, the sweat comes off their bodies and they pee in the pool, it smells like the smell you smell. So what we're smelling is the interaction of people's pee with the chlorine. Does that make you
I wonder, it does make sense. Now, I've noticed too when I go, so I've been to a number of, city pools around, whether it's St. Charles County or West St. Louis County, and I've noticed that nothing smells like chlorine anymore. In fact, it's noticeable to me that nothing smells like I leave, my clothes don't, and I wash all my swim stuff and the kids' swim stuff immediately upon arriving home. And I noticed that nothing smells like chlorine anymore. And I just assume that they're using different sort of chemicals, at least for large pools,
John, you're missing the point here, dude. You're missing the point. You have no idea what you've just said.
Okay.
You have just admitted that you go to such highfalutin swimming pools that nobody would dare pee in the pool. So
right, like I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be where the proletariat swims. I'm not going to subject myself to that.
Right, you're going to the places where they have underwater pee detectors. So if
where it shames people for peeing. Right. Yeah, I'm not going to be around a bunch of pool peers.
Well, the interesting thing about Mark Rober is that I find it fascinating, and I think this is the thing that's interesting. His big thing is he's trying to teach young people physics and science and things like that, which is so lacking nowadays in schools. And that's part of the reason why these other countries are surpassing us in so many different things, because we're too worried about DEI, and we're too worried about, who can go in what's bathroom, and we're too worried about should we have tampon dispensers or sanitary napkin dispensers in the boys' room and stuff like that. It's like my whole complaint. It's funny, one of the shows that was playing before we came on the air, we were talking about the school boards, and once again, I say nobody talks about academics anymore. It's all about, we can't have girls in the boys' bathroom and stuff like that. Okay, whatever. And here we're having 4-day-a-week school, and in other countries they're going 6 days a week because it's proven to the fact that if they go 6 days, they learn more. But yet in the United States, we don't have enough money. But yet, once again, we got the gambling throwing money into the schools. We've got this throwing money into the schools, but they never have enough money. Isn't it interesting? Government's sort of
at least we are not, to quote the great Brad Hildebrand, at least we are not one of those many conservative stations where people just get on the air and complain about stuff all the time.
Never.
And just complain about the way things are today.
We would never do that, and I will end the show by complimenting John for when that 21-year-old kid knocks on his door to try to sell him aluminum siding today, and he doesn't answer the phone, and 20 years from now, when John's looking for a job, and he goes to the CEO of the largest corporation in St. Louis, and the guy says, John Combes, 3562 Mockingbird Lane. I knocked on your door 20 years ago to sell you siding, and you didn't answer your door. No job for you. Right? Okay.
You are this is when I smile and nod and say you're right, Brad. I'll see you on Monday.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combes' book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?